Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radhika Raman Giriju Ki Jai Ho. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Natira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Natira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jai Ho. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Slakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Yena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Namo Mahavandanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gora Devashe Nama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my heartfelt Puspanjali to the lotus feet of my Harinam Diksha, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my life and soul, the one who brought all auspiciousness to my life. And second of all, to my Bhajan Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev, who is continuing to make that auspiciousness increase. And also to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj, and to our entire Guru Parampara, and especially to who? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and our Madhurya Kadambini. So last week, I mentioned a little bit about where, excuse me, having a little bit of trouble here. We're getting near Kartik. We're coming towards Kartik. We only got 3 weeks left, I think, maybe not even that. And it starts on the 28th of October. And this is the what? The 13th. This is the Friday the 13th. In America, that's very inauspicious. But in India, it doesn't matter. So, but anyhow, we're getting close. The 28th, that's Purnima. Sorry, Purnima. So last week we talked about how Kartik is a month for Srimati Radhika. She's Kartik Devi or Jaishwari. And in Kartik, we especially are trying to increase our desire to attain our goal as Radha Dashyam, and to practice those practices under the shelter of Sri Guru and Vaishnavas that will purify our hearts so that we'll actually be able to come to that topmost situation, actually, to our natural position. We naturally, actually, in our soul is who we actually are. Isn't it like in the seed of a banyan tree? There's a whole banyan tree. So in our Atma, who we really are is there, but it's not manifest. And who we are, we're Rupanuga, so that means we're aspiring Radha Dasis, right? So we want to follow those practices under the guidance of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, the Rasik Bhaktas, so that this potential will become manifest as soon as possible. It can be done in one lifetime, they all say. It's highly unlikely, but it can be done. And the example is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. If you know the story, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gop Kumar, he had to go through so much hard labor. He had to go everywhere and experience everything in the material world, all the way up to Brahmaloka, then the Brahman, Effulgence, Shiva Dham, and then up to Narayan, and then Ram, Dwarka, finally Krishna. He's in Gop, he's a Gop, right? He's in Sakyaras. But his disciple, later, if you read, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Srimati Radharani herself sends him back for the Mathura Brahman, Jana Sharma. And he says, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he reveals that it's gives him more pleasure to follow the instruction of Radharani than even to engage in his pastimes with Krishna as the cowherd boy. You see it like this. That is the highest pleasure, to carry out the instruction of Srimati Radharani. So he comes and he finds Jana Sharma and he tells Jana Sharma his story. But Jana Sharma hasn't realized anything. So what happens? This is astonishing. It's in a famous verse, of course I can't remember the Sanskrit, but he just places his hand on the head of Jana Sharma. It's called Mahat Shakti, Maha Kripa, Mahat Seva. You know, this is Mahat Sangha, that's what it is, Mahat Sangha. So just by the power of the hand of a Mahatma, by his glance, by his embrace, by his thinking, everything came to Jana Sharma just by the touch of it. He immediately got prema. Immediately. Astonishing. Now this also took place when Mahaprabhu was here. He was also bestowing prema and his associates were bestowing prema. But nowadays, mostly we have to follow the process as given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. We have to follow the process of bhakti, you know. And so during the month of Kartik, we want to especially, because she's going to give special mercy during this month. So we especially want to try and minimize our bodily demands, our mental distractions, like this. Now I wanted to read one thing from the Vrajmandal Parikrama book, which is Srila Narayan Maharaj, telling us how to observe the Vrajmandal Parikrama. Now it's interesting because some of these things that he says are more important than other things. Even though you don't see that here, but because I've been with him for so long, I know how much he emphasized certain things and not so much other things, because we aren't always so qualified to do certain things. But the first thing that we will do, if you've been at home over there in England or in France or wherever, still on the first day we take a vow. We take a vow, and if you're not here in Braj, you can take your vow at Vishram Ghat Mathura, you can take your vow here at the Jamuna. If you're Navadvip, you can do it at the Ganga. If you're at home, you do Manasa Seva. You go to the Jamuna. You go to the Ganga. You go and you take vow, you know, and you make special heartfelt vow to try and follow during this month. Now that depends on your adhikari, on your guru. You know, that's a personal thing. When you're here with the parikrama, the whole parikrama makes a vow, and it's quite long. They do a special, it's a ceremony actually, you know, and they do artik to the Jamuna and like this. You can do all that. And the main important thing is what? In bhakti? Guru Seva. Guru Seva. Guru is the one who's been sent to us by Srimati Radharani. So if we can please our Guru, then we'll be pleasing Srimati Radhika. Like this. So we take to heart on the first day, this month particularly, but actually this month is just, how do you call it? It's just a practice for how we should be all year long, actually. It's not that only during Kartik week, no, but actually all year long. Our Guru Seva should be prominent. It should be foremost in our life, and actually, ultimately, gradually, that's all we have. We have nothing else. We have no separate interest. We have no desire for sense gratification. But we can't pretend to be on that level until we're on that level. But now we're practicing. So what Srila Narayana just said, first, there's certain positive injunctions and certain negative injunctions. So the positive injunctions are, and this one is super important, to speak the truth, then to observe celibacy. And then this third one is not as important. I didn't see everyone on it, but it's, if we can do it, we should do it. To sleep on the ground. Don't sleep in a bed. In the old days, they used to just have a mat. They wouldn't even have any foam or anything, just a mat. And I remember one time we were in, I think it's Bandirvan. We were at the Vamsi Vad in Bandirvan. And Gurudev was kind of chastising, especially all the Westerners, how we would demand to have a separate bathroom, a detached bathroom, and have our bed and have our, like this. Because if you see, I mean, if you've been on any of the parikramas, you see especially the Bengali yatris, or the ones from Orissa, they come. And they're just sleeping with their mosquito nets anywhere. Anywhere. They're not thinking about any needs for the body. And they're just happy to be on parikrama. They're happy to be close to the Vaishnavas, to Thakurji. Actually, we found here, because they're coming here to Gopinath Bhavan, and we get quite a few, and we tried to make dharmshalas for them. They didn't want to go to the dharmshalas because they want to be close to Thakurji. They'd rather sleep all out in the verandas, on the roof, anywhere, so they can be close to Thakurji. They don't care if they have a nice bed or an attached bathroom. We build a few bathrooms so that everybody has to line up. So it's a nice example for us to see, exactly where we're at in our in our evolution of bhakti. Because when we actually become very evolved in bhakti, we also won't care about these things. And it also depends on association. I remember when I went on my first Navadvip parikrama, actually I was still in ISKCON. Must have been like 1992 or 93. I was still in ISKCON. And I had come with a friend of mine to see Srila Narayana Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, on my way back to ISKCON to do my seva in the Gurukula. And we weren't staying for Gaur Purnima. And Gurudev looked at us and said, "Who's made these stupid ideas, this stupid program? You're not staying for Gaur Purnima." And he was really shouting. He was angry. What fool has made these plans? And so and he was really yelling. The whole mott could hear it. And so I said, then I ran over and I touched his feet and I said, "Well, Gurudev, can we go on your parikrama? Can we stay?" And he said, and then he stopped. He smiled. He said, "Yes." And that's what he wanted, He stopped yelling. So we called up and said, "Well, we're not coming back yet. You better find a substitute." And so then we stayed. And we had nothing. There were a few other girls that came over from ISKCON. There was one man there from England, Prem Vilas, who was his Shiksha disciple. He had a room, because he'd already made plans, right? But this was like spur of the moment. This was just like on the spot. So you know what a little pump tent is? A little tent? They have for the mountains. Westerners have for the mountains. So I was with two others in one, and there were three others in another, us girls, right? And we were in the middle of all the Bengalis with their mosquito nets. So we were just like them, although we had a pub tent. And the Bengalis are like, look, and they'd never seen a little tent before. And Gurudev was helping us put up the tents, you know, and he was so happy. And we had to use the public bathrooms. You know, I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning because there was only like 2 toilets or something, you know, for hundreds and hundreds. And you have to take a shower under the, you know, it was like Hare Krishna. But we were in so much bliss that we didn't even concern about this. It was such a, in one sense, at first I was so shocked. I'd never experienced anything like this before. But by the end, I was totally addicted. I never wanted it to stop, you know, because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know any Bengali. It didn't matter. We're just being swept along, and you might say the ocean and the waves of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement and all the kirtan, and it was astonishing, actually. You know, so we had a little mercy. After that, then I became a bit more conditioned. Again, when I would go, it's a bit harder. But, you know, when one has that eagerness to go on parikrama, I'll tell you another story that's a good example. Near the end, I don't know what year it was, Srila Gurudev was going on Brajmandal parikrama with us, but he wasn't always going out. He would stay and he would send us out with Tirtha Maharaj, Madha Maharaj, and everyone, right? And I have some back problems, issues, and headaches and stuff, so he wasn't going on the Barshana parikrama. And so I thought, well, you know, I don't think I'll go either. And then I saw him over on his veranda. I thought, oh, wow, nice darshan I'm going to have. Nice darshan with Gurudev all by myself, you know. So I'd go over there. I didn't realize there was someone behind me, but anyhow, I went there and he looked at me and I'm saying, oh, Gurudev, you know. And he said, you didn't go out today? And I said, oh, you know, I have this problem, you know. And he started yelling again. He yelled so loud. He said, those who go out of parikrama, they will never be sick. And those who stay back, they will always be sick. You're useless. And he got up and walked in his room and slammed the door in my face. I'm going, oh. You know, it wasn't the beautiful darshan that I thought I was going to get, you know. Actually, it was the beautiful. It was what I needed, right? So I got together with a few of my friends who also hadn't got it. We got in the car, we went zooming around that afternoon and went places. And then the next day I went out. And so then I went to see Gurudev in the afternoon the next day. And he saw me from a long distance coming. He said, where have you been? Where have you been? I've been looking for you all day trying to chastise you. I said, I went out. Am I okay? Am I not useless? Oh, no, you're not useless anymore, you know. But it made you know, and you see so many of these Bengalis or Orissans, I mean, they're bent over. You know they're in pain. You know they can hardly walk even. And they're running on parikrama. The eagerness that they have, the faith that they have in the Dham, and in parikrama, in the holy, in the kirtans, in the Hari Katha. Like, it puts us to shame. It really does, you know. So anyhow, it's something to think about. But still, we can't imitate. We should not try and imitate. Try and do the best we can. And just pray that one day we get free from the bodily platform of life and the mental platform, and we actually attain a much higher spiritual platform. Like Madhavendra Puri. We can't imitate it, but he wouldn't ever take anything unless it was given to him. And he would only take milk, I think it is, only milk, and only if that was given to him. Even when he was doing all the anakuts for Gopal, for Gopal, after everything was done, then he would take, if someone gave him a little milk. And then the next day, a huge anakut, only some milk. Yeah, you know. So anyhow, this is what Vrindavana parikrama is for, to help us become purified, help us to increase our desire to attain our goal, and to help us become free from the bodily platform of life and the mental platform of life, you know. Come to a higher spiritual standard, you know. And it's by sadhu sangha. So on parikrama, there'll be so many sadhus, and we hear so much Hari Katha. We engage in so much kirtan. And for those of us whose gurus have entered Nitya Leela, they're still with us. We bring them in our heart. They're here. You know, it's not that we're, only the gurus that are now visible are the only one. No. Prabhupada is here, Srila Narayana Maharaj is here, Srila Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Goswami, everyone is here. You know, and we're all following the same, in one sense, guru, Nitai, the same instructions. This is the kind of Guru Tattva. Everyone's recommended to go on Parikama. Even Nitai took Jiva Goswami on Parikama of Navadvip. And who was it? I think his name is Raghava Pandit from Govardhan, took, who was it? Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya on Parikama of Braj. So this, one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti is to follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. So Parikama is following in the footsteps of the Mahajans for sure. So we'll go on. What time is it? Oh my gosh. After sleeping on the ground, which we can do if we're capable of it. If we can, then we just understand that hopefully one day we will be qualified to sleep on the ground. Yeah, yeah. Most of the Bengalis, they just have a little mat, straw mat, and that's it. That's it. Okay. Although here, they were giving out these foams here last year during Brajmandal. They were, but when I remember when I was in Navadvip, it was just a little mat. Okay. So the next one, this is very important. This is one we must follow. To forgive the offenses of others. Because Gurudev says, if we don't forgive others, how can we expect Krishna to forgive us? It's not possible. You see? So we have to forgive others. And if we don't, that means we're envious. We're totally envious. It's just envy. You see? So we need this compassion. Compassion is the greatest ornament of a Vaishnava. And it's one of the intrinsic qualities of bhakti. Compassion and forgiveness. And the truth of the matter is, we're more fallen than anyone else, so we want to be forgiven for everything. Yes. It was interesting. I was talking to a Jewish, was she Jewish? Yeah, she's Jewish. A friend of mine from America. I don't know much about the Jewish faith. And she's a convert to Judaism. And she says every night they have a prayer and they beg forgiveness to everyone for everything they've done, and they say, I forgive everyone for everything they've done for me, and they do that every night. I thought that was really amazing, actually.
12 steps.
Yeah. So anyhow, the next one, this is one most of us can do. At least says is to take bath in the holy rivers or kunds. Most of us can do that. If not, at least take achman and put some on your head. But we can do that. The next one, to do achman. The next one, this one's super important. To accept only prasad offered to the Supreme Lord. No boga. No boga. No buying snacks and just, no. If you buy, offered, has to be offered. And that should be the rest of our life, every second of our life. We should never, ever take boga again, ever in our life if we do. It's karma. Even if it's vegetarian, even if we're vegan, it has to be offered to the Supreme Lord. And even has to be offered with affection. This is what Prabhupada said, affection. One time he was showing how to, and there's a tape of this. Prabhupada saying, I am so fallen. Oh Krishna, I'm so fallen. I'm so fallen, but this is all I have, and you've given this. Please, you take it. And he starts weeping. He says, this is bhakti. Yeah, this is how we should offer. Like, I know this isn't really acceptable, but please, I don't have anything else. Please take this. We bhakti. Yeah. So, and then the next one is to perform Harinam Kirtan on Tulsi beads, or perform Harinam Sankirtan in the assembly of Vaishnavas. So it's either out loud or japa on Tulsi beads, but always Harinam Sankirtan, Harinam Kirtan, either, for ourselves. So, and while we're walking, we should be chanting always, either I can't really take questions in the middle, at the end, okay? One should perform the parikrama by properly respecting and worshipping the Brahmins, deities, sacred places, and the Supreme Lord's pastime places encountered during the course of the parikrama. So we should be very, very respectful. And that means the bona fide Brahmins. And the thing is that sometimes we think, oh, well, those Brahmins, they're not so qualified. But actually we should at least show respect, like this, because they are trying. They are trying, and they're trying to practice what they've been taught. You see, like this. It may not be the Brahmin like Gargamuni, you know. It may not be the Brahmin like Saraswati Thakur, like this. But still, we should offer some respect. Because they're usually taking care of the deities, the best of their ability. And the deities in Vrindavan are pretty well taken care of. They are. And all day long, they're taking care of the deities, like this. And we try not to fault find. We just, from a distance, we offer respect. We learn to do this. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said in his Jaiva Dharma that all religions, actually there's only one religion, that's Vaishnava Dharma. And everything else is either a step on the staircase going to Vaishnava Dharma, or it's a distortion. So if it's a step, we take whatever purity is there. No problem. So we see the good. If it's a distortion, we just neglect it, and we don't criticize it, he says. And we focus on our own bhakti. And he says something else very astonishing. He says, but when the time is ripe, he says, everyone will easily come to Vaishnava Dharma, easily. So therefore we shouldn't worry about it. And who knows what we've been in our past lives. We've probably been many things that right now, if we saw, we would criticize. We have had unlimited lifetimes. So we should be very careful. And we've come to the path of pure bhakti. We're so fortunate. So fortunate. So we just pray that everyone can somehow or other someday come to the path of pure bhakti, Vaishnava Dharma. Okay, now we'll quickly go through the negative injunctions. And this is very important. This is a must. Do not become angry. No anger. Even if they're turning the speakers up that breaks your ears, you don't become angry. You somehow deal with it without becoming angry. Whatever it is, we have to learn to deal with things without becoming angry. You know? And this is a big test for us. Because we still are so selfish. We have our separate interest, which is our self-interest. You know? Like this. So we think I'm the center, everything should be for my enjoyment, should be exactly how I want it, you know, but actually, Krishna's doing everything. Not a blade of grass moves but by the will of Krishna. He's turning it up. He's making that person turn it up, you know. He's making this person, you're sitting in class or kirtan, and you know what it is in India. And you're sitting and there's no space, and then some big fat lady comes along, and she's one tiny, and just somehow sits there, and it's like, and you just, but you become very humble and tolerant. If we're not humble and tolerant, this is just the level of nishta, and now we're going to start talking about prem. So, and nishta is humility, tolerance, offering respects, not wanting any respect. You're going along in the pilgrimage, especially in Navadvip with the thousands, they're just, it's like, Hare Krishna. We should feel we're so fortunate to be in the unlimited flow of the pure bhakti of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And the waves are just tossing us like this and that. We should be in ecstasy like they are. Anyhow, no anger. We're not supposed to commit any violence towards the trees, creepers, small shrubs, cows, and so forth along the parikrama path. No, just taking something off, or no violence. Also, We are not supposed to dishonor the Brahmins, Vaishnavas, and so on. No dishonor in calling them names or do whatever, because we got angry. We're not to disrespect the deities also. No disrespect to deities. So we should know what the offenses to deities are. Oh, and this one here is not so important. If you can do it, you do it, but most people don't do it. We're not supposed to actually use soap or oil. That's interesting. No soap or oil for a month. You're not supposed to shave. You're not supposed to kill any ants or other living entities. So no violence. So you have to look where you're walking. You're not supposed to involve yourself in disputes or quarrels with anyone. No quarreling over, you know what we quarrel over. And we're not supposed to criticize others. So these are very important. If we can start to even try and follow these, just think how happy Srimati Radhika will be. And these are not easy. This is definitely not easy. But this is the proper way to follow Brajmandal Parikrama. So I thought we'd just touch on that. So we're getting ready for Parikrama. So now back to shower 8, praying. And we're going on to text 2. And text 2 is quite astonishing. Because if you remember in text 1 at the end, we'd already passed through the devotee's hankering to see Krishna. And he's had a spurti, a vision of Krishna, and he's felt so much separation. Everything in the material world has become distasteful for him. Everything just makes him upset, actually. He just wants to see Krishna. So this eagerness, a pure eagerness, actually melts the heart of Krishna, and Krishna comes. Krishna actually is attracted by this. It's called Krishna Karshani. This is part of prema. This intense bliss, the intense eagerness to attain Krishna, serve him favorably, to have intimate association and serve him intimately. Krishna's heart starts melting. So he actually comes and he gives darshan. So this text 2 starts describing the actual, how you say it, the actual manifestation of Krishna when he's revealing his, what he calls the Madhuris, his sweetnesses. Krishna has so many sweetnesses. So when he comes, the first sweetness that he reveals to the devotee, who is totally astonished, is called Saundarya. That's the sweetness of his beauty, his beautiful form. And his form is so astonishingly beautiful that it's described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that his eyes are not enough. It's not enough to see him with your eyes. So all the other senses, our nose, our ears, everything actually comes into our eyes, and every one of our functions of all of our other senses become like eyes. They just want to just relish this sweetness, this madhurya of his form. And it's interrupted a little bit because at that point, sattvika vikars, that means ecstatic symptoms, a little bit interrupt in that tears come, haripalation, and at that point, the devotee, the premi bhakta, faints. He's just overwhelmed. So Krishna, what now? So then, to awaken the devotee, he reveals his second madhurya, which is called Saurabhya. That is his fragrance, his astonishing fragrance. So then the devotee awakens, and he's experiencing this astonishing fragrance. And then all of his senses want to become like a nose, smelling like this. And so once again, he's just, I'm only describing what I've read, because I certainly have not experienced this. But this is to let us understand the astonishing fruit of praying. And when praying first arises or is manifest in our heart, this will be the process, you see. But Krishna's there. He's so merciful. Even though the second time after this astonishing fragrance has come, the devotee again faints. So to revive I wanted to read something here on page 404. Let's see here. This is a beautiful quote. It says, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now we're starting to get a little bit of understanding what this quote means. This is from the Ancha-lila, chapter 15. Krishna Rupam Rita Sindhu, Tahara Taranga Bindu, Eka Bindu Jagat Dubaya. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, just one drop from the wave of the ocean, nectarian ocean of Krishna's beauty can flood the entire world. Just one drop. So now we're seeing, you see? And what happens is all of our senses, first they become like eyes, then they become like noses, like this. So then what happens? Because the devotee has fainted again, Krishna reveals his beautiful, sweet voice, or the beautiful sound of his flute. That's called Sosvarya. And how does he reveal that? What is he says to the devotee, he says, he's to pacify the devotee who's fainted and to bring him back. He says to him, this is Krishna. He's so humble. He's a top. He says, my dear devotee, I am fully subservient to you. I'm your servant. I'm your property. Don't be anxious. Let your experience of me fulfill all your desires. So in this way, by speaking these sweet words, the devotee is revived again. But again, after all of his senses then want to become ears. To hear, right? And then what happens? He faints again. So the next, we've had 1, 2, 3 Madhuris at this time, sweetnesses. So his fourth Madhuri, what is that? His tender touch. And this is revealed according to the devotee's bhav. It's not the same for everyone. This one is according. So for those who are in dasya bhav, servitude, he puts his feet on their head. Krishna puts his feet there, and they're revived. For those who are in fraternal, sakya, he takes their hands in his lotus hands, like this. And for those who are in paternal, he wipes their tears with his hands. And for those who are in Madhurya Ras, according to their inner desire, because as we know, we have different categories of Madhurya Ras, but for most, he embraces them to his chest, like this. It doesn't quite say what he does for the manjaris. It just says, according to their inner desires, then they experience his tender touch, like this. And it especially mentions that he embraces them to his chest, which is marked with a Shrivaksa, the mark of Lakshmi, like this. So, once again, the devotee has been revived. And so then, after he's fallen fourth time into a deep, deep faint, Krishna says, now his fifth Madhuri he reveals. And this is is called Saurashya, which is his sweet taste. Now this is also according to the devotee's bhav. To those who are in dasya or sakya or in parental, mostly it comes through his mahaprasad, or chewed betel nuts like this. But for those in Madhurya Ras, that is according to their bhav. And it doesn't really explain, but that's, as we know, It's a very confidential revelation to those in Madhurya Bhav. That's how it's put here. He reveals in a very confidential, intimate way the sweet taste, and we know that. So then the devotees first they want to be, all their senses want to become touch, all their senses want to be able to taste. So you've got, how many? It was 4. This 2, 4, 6. Five. So then what happens? Because the devotees are helpless. They're astonished and helpless and they're faint. So he reveals his 6th Madhurya. And what is that? This is not one that's through the senses. This is in the heart. It's magnanimity called Adarya. Adarya. Adarya? I don't know how to say it right. It is so that they can relish them all together. Because at this point it's been one. But now he can see, what does he use if they can't, experience my Madhuris altogether? So he reveals this magnanimity, Adarya or Durya, whatever, how you call it. My Sanskrit is so great. So that they can experience all of them together. And this is done, how? By his Achintya Shakti, his inconceivable potency. Because it says these Madhuris and this Adarya, it's not, we cannot understand. It's all coming through his inconceivable potency, his Achintya Shakti. Cannot be described, actually. And that is the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the Achintya Shakti is making everything happen in such a way that as conditioned souls, we can never understand. We can only understand the Achintya by the descending process, to hear from those who have experienced. And even they can't really explain it. They explain to the best, but it cannot be explained in language. So that's why through our practice of bhakti, gradually we become more qualified, and gradually we actually learn by realization. That's why I remember I used to ask sometimes Srila Gurudev something, he'd say, more chanting, then you will just realize, just more chanting, like this. And isn't it true? As we chant more, as we practice more, things that we had so much maybe doubt about or question, they become so easy. Oh, that's not so difficult. So it's all by this Achintya Shakti, the inconceivable potency. And we have to have the faith. See, it's all based on faith, on Shraddha. All this is based on Shraddha. If one has faith, and one gets the proper sadhu sangha, and one follows, everything will be revealed. We cannot learn it by reading a book. We cannot learn it by studying. It's not possible. It has to be revealed. The spiritual world is revelation. Like that. We've all had some kind of spiritual experience. No matter what. Everybody's, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be trying. But can you explain it to someone else? You cannot. You can't explain the happiness. You can just say, I feel happy. Well, that doesn't explain it. You cannot. So that's the Achintya Shakti. So then what happens? What happens next is that, oh, wait a minute, where am I? Oh, I forgot something. So then what happens is Krishna, he becomes like the moon. And the moon, when the full moon is there, the full moon agitates the ocean. And the waves are going and they're hitting each other and like this. So the moon is considered the king of the mind. So Krishna becomes like the presiding deity of the devotee's heart and his mind. And then all of this is just buffeting away, and he's being, how do you call it? He's being churned. That's the word, churned in this ocean of the Madhuris, the sweetnesses of Krishna, in this ocean of prema. And prema itself says, oh, now it's time for me to act. And she makes everything increase like beyond. And this is like the full moon is just making the ocean go crazy like that. But there's still something more. Because Krishna realizes, what is the use of all my sweetnesses if the devotee cannot, experience them in full altogether. Because right now they're just having a little drop. They're like the chatak bird. When the monsoon clouds come and the rains come from the Swati Nakshatra, it takes a little, in its beak, it can only take a little bit, right? But Krishna says if they can't take it all together, experience all my Madhuris in full, what's the use? And the devotee's also feeling, I want to do this. So then his final 7th Madhuri, he reveals, what's that? Karunya, compassion. Compassion. And he empowers the devotee to be able to experience them all in full, like this. So it's beautiful how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained this. So then we have this Karunya Shakti. And this Karuna Shakti is explained that it's the foremost potency of Krishna. Krishna has so many potencies, right? And he explains there's a Vimala, which is purity, Utkarshini, so many potencies. It says he has 8 major potencies. And it's like a lotus flower. And these potencies are like the petals. And the Karunya Shakti is the center. It's called Parikarp of the lotus. And it's the presiding deity of all the other Shaktis. But then he goes on. It's amazing. He talks about how this mercy potency, Karunya, or it's also called Anugrahaya. Anugrahaya or Kripa. And how does it come? This is astonishing. How does it come to the devotee? Through the eyes. Through Krishna's eyes. It's so beautiful how he's explaining this. And so through his eyes, to those who are in, let's say, servitude, friendship, and parental, comes through his eyes, and it comes sometimes as affection, bhakti vatsalya, or sometimes as compassion. But for those in Madhurya Ras, who is our sweethearts, his beloveds, this is astonishing. This Karuna Shakti, it says she manifests in that devotee in such a way that that devotee attracts Krishna and melts his heart. So it's completely different. It's coming through his, it's coming from the devotee. This way he's giving his look like this. But actually, this makes the gopis so astonishingly full of their prem like this, that that they attract Krishna and melt his heart like this. That's the Karuna Shakti working on Madhurya. And he says, this is the Kripa Shakti. And what does it do? It's really sweet how it says, this Kripa Shakti arouses further sportive, playful pastimes between the gopis and Krishna. Therefore, it's sometimes given the name Sneha, Priti, Madhurya, like that. Astonishing, very astonishing. And then, and it talks about how this is so astonishing and so all attractive that even the Atmarams, those devotees who are just self-sort, they're all getting pleasure from their own self, right? Even they get attracted and they forget that and they want to enter the pastimes of Krishna and they become devotees. And that's Sukadev Goswami. There's so many examples like this. As soon as this Kripa Shakti, and they got it by hearing or seeing, like this, then they become attractive. And this, let's see here. And also, he ends this section, no, he doesn't end this section. There's one more section we're not going to talk about today, is that those are the Madhuris, and the topmost Madhuri is the Karuna Shakti, the Kripa Anugrahaya. But he has qualities also, right? And it talked about, through his eyes, to those who are in servitude, fraternal and parental love, Bhakti Vatsalya comes sometimes. But this quality of Bhakti Vatsalya is there for everyone, and it is the emperor of all qualities. His affection for his devotees. That is the empress of all other qualities here. His affection. And you can see here, he's feeling so much affection, so much compassion. He wants to share himself. And he knows he's so sweet. And he wants all of his devotees to taste this sweetness like that. And to end this particular part, there's only one more part of text 2. We'll do that next time. He quotes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Priti Devi, the presiding deity of the earth, and she lists 39 qualities of Krishna. Some of them being cleanliness, truthfulness, Aishvarya, splendor, strength, memory, so many things. But the topmost is this Bhakti Vatsalya. Bhakti Vatsalya reigns and controls all other qualities like that. So we're very fortunate that Krishna is very affectionate to his devotees, right? So this is actually our goal. So one day, our potential will become a manifest reality. We'll attain our Siddha Deha. Our Siddha Deha is made of bhav and prem. Nothing to do with the material world. It will be all forgotten. Prem cannot be contained in a material body. It will all be gone. And we will be tasting these things. But the reason why we're going to be allowed to taste these things is because at that point we have no desire for sense gratification. Actually, we've been allowed, we're given a privilege, this privilege, because we only want Krishna's happiness at that point. You see? Not even a pinch of desire for our own happiness. And even though you were feeling this astonishing happiness, that is just secondary. That's like just coming, but we don't care about that. Oh, we only want Krishna to be happy. And of course the epitome, as we're always talking about, is Srimati Radhika. She only wants him to be happy, no matter what. Even if he loves to tease her, right? He loves to see her angry. He loves all these things, right? You know? And she says, if that makes you happy, then that's my highest happiness, isn't it? My highest happiness is to see you happy. Even if another gopi makes you happy, that is my happiness. But she actually knows that no one can make him happy like herself. So she gets a little angry at that. But that's all to nourish the pastimes, right? All to nourish the pastimes. So there's only two things. Maya, desire for sense gratification. Krishna, service to Krishna. Prem seva to Krishna. Right now, we're in the process of transformation. We're in the process of our bhakti lata growing, right? Maturing. So we can't get disappointed that at this point, we aren't able to taste these higher things. And we shouldn't try and pretend that we're tasting them. We shouldn't lie to others. We shouldn't lie to ourselves and or else we become sahajas. This is an obstacle on the path of bhakti, to pretend that you're higher than you are. We should be very clear, and Madhurya Kadambini makes it very clear at what stage we're at. We went through chapter 3, which was all the anartas. And what was the 5 persistent anartas before you come to Nishta? Sleep. If you're practicing bhakti and you sleep. What was another one? You get distracted. What was, distraction. Another one, desire for sense gratification, even though the bhakti is right there. Another one is you're just not interested. Another one, you just don't have the power, the strength to do it. That's before Nishta. So we should all look at ourselves and see, where are we? Where are we? We shouldn't try and pretend that we're something that we're not. But we should be very, very hopeful. We shouldn't be hopeless, ever hopeless. Because everything can happen very fast. And it all depends on Guru. Guru Seva. That's the first part of the 64 limbs of bhakti. That we take shelter of Sri Guru. We take initiation. We take diksha and shiksha. We serve him with affection. We follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans as best we can and honestly. Honestly. We try our best, but honestly speaking, I'm not doing so well. Honestly, I've got these problems. But I'm trying like this. And I want to be able to serve Shri Guru with affection, with gratitude. I want to be able to do these things. And we pray, oh Sri Guru, please empower me. Please empower me to be able to do this. Only by your mercy. Because really everything is mercy. Really, we have no power. We can't. You know, it says we do our sadhan bhajan, but even that, how we do it? By mercy. By mercy. And if you don't have your sadhu sangha, and right there, like sitting next to you, sadhu sangha is actually being absorbed in trying to please Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas in their instructions like that. It doesn't mean that you have to be sitting in the same room as your Guru and the Vaishnavas. You may be doing that, you may not understand anything, and you may actually be committing offense if you're not careful. So we have to be very careful. What is sadhu sangha? What is a Bhagavat seva? You know, bhakta seva, like this, and try and sincerely and honestly practice this. That is the most important limb of bhakti. Anyhow, we'll stop here. The next part, which is actually in text 2, but I didn't want to get, it's a completely different subject matter, we're in text 3. Oh, I went through text 2 and 3, and I didn't quite finish text 3. So the next one is very interesting. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on it. Is Bhagavan, even his apparent faults are wonderful qualities. It's really nice, and so many examples are given of the faults of Krishna that are actually so wonderful and so tasty. And so that's a beautiful subject. We'll do that next week and then go on into text 4 also. Okay, Vanchakalpatuvishta, Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada,